Hare Krishna. Somebody can please lead the invocation prayers.
When I do, Prabhu.
Go ahead.
Om Jnana Sadguru Anvinita Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhisyam Stabinam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Katamayam Tatanti Shva Patantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Patakamalam Sri Guru Vaishnavam Cha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Saganagam Raghunantavitam Sajivam Satvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sakitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Savana Lalita Sri Vishankha Visamcha Ye Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopija Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namaste Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Devi Pranamami Haripriye Panchakalpaku Vishya Kripa Sindhu Evacha Paritanam Pavaneshu Vaishnavyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vashadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So today we will discuss Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 5, from verse number 10 onwards. Before that, you all had spiritual endeavor to do to find out the 4 positive levels and 4 negative levels from Bhagavatam 4.4.12 on the inquiry from last week. Let's hear from all of you on that point first. Somebody?
I found a few of the points. So, like on the positive side, a Mahatma, he finds the small good and he magnifies that. And contrary, on the negative side, someone finds a small fault and magnifies that.
Okay. What else?
Subdue anger, Prabhuji.
So that wasn't the direct point in 4.4.12. There was 4 specific levels.
Okay. Yeah.
Can you continue?
Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Go ahead.
I will tell positive things about this and then negative things. What I realized. One positive that association is vaguely virtually elevated persons.
Uncle, are you able to
Am I
use?
audible?
So audio is not clear. Are you able to use your audio instead of Mother Chandra Auntie's audio?
Yes, Prabhuji, his is giving some issue.
I will take a minute, I will switch off and then switch on.
Okay.
No.
This I will use my very serious.
Am I audible now?
It's slightly better, could be better, but go ahead. Your audio is not clear. We'll leave your conversation. We are wasting time here. So I will bring up on screen Mother Jija, how she always does drawings. She did the same for the spiritual endeavor. So I will get a couple of you to read what Mother Jija has created here.
Keep the sound.
So you can see on the screen that this was the spiritual endeavor, that you have 4 positive levels and 4 negative levels explained in Bhagavatam 4.4.12, as well as Prabhupada explains how to be tolerant or how to not be envious of others in 4.8.34. So let's see. Chandran Prabhu, you want to read from the slide on the screen what Mother Jija has designed?
Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam 4.4.12, Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva is also called Asutosa, which refers to one who is satisfied very easily. Lord Shiva not only finds no faults with others' qualities, but if someone has a little good quality, he magnifies it greatly. It is explained in Srimad Bhagavatam 4.4.12 that a man becomes the greatest soul by accepting the goodness of others' qualities.
And the discussion continues. So here Mother Jija has the 4 qualities and the 4 positive qualities. So the key words are also there with the sadhu, mahatara, mahatma, and ati mahatma. And the 4 negative qualities in the next slide will have the A in front of them to explain the negative. So it goes in clockwise direction. Shivangi, you want to read and explain what Mother Jija has done here for the positive levels?
Yeah, Prabhuji. Sadhu accepts faults in others since faults can eventually be transformed into good qualities. Mahatara overlooks faults and sees good qualities. Mahatma takes small qualities and magnifies them, not seeing small faults. Ati Mahatma sees good qualities in others when there are none.
Very good. And then you have the negative quality. Shivangi will continue.
A sadhu thinks someone's good qualities will turn into faults. A sadhutara sees faults only, overlooking good qualities. A sadhutama takes small faults and magnifies them, seeing no good qualities at all. Ati asadu atma sees only faults in others, even when there are no faults.
Very good. So the words, you should remember the words that are important. So positive is sadhu, mahatara, mahatma, and ati mahatma. The negative you have asadhu, asadhutara, asadhu atma, and ati asadhu atma. And Abhishek Prabhu will now read the next 2 slides. So she is Mother Jija is explaining with an analogy. Abhishek, from the screen.
Srimad Bhagavatam 4.4.12 Analogy. There are some highly qualified persons who accept only the good qualities of others, just as a bee is always interested in the honey in the flower and does not consider the thorns and colors.
Very good. And then 4.8.34, Mother Jija has a very nice visual. So start from the bottom left and then goes from the middle. You have 1, 2, 3. So read and explain what Mother Jija is trying to do with the drawings. Abhishek.
From bottom left, Prabhuji. So then 3 to 1.
No, bottom left and 1, 2, 3 from the top.
Okay, thank you. Causes of material tribulation. The great sage Narada advised that a devotee should act perfectly. First, when he meets a person more qualified than himself, he should be very pleased. So in the image, we can see that a person is meeting a devotee and he is very happily greeting them. Second is when he meets someone less qualified than himself, he should be compassionate towards them. So here in the second image, we see that there are children and the person is the devotee is greeting them to give them also spiritual piety. And third is when he meets someone equal to himself, he should make friendship with him. So here it looks like there are two friends and one friend is taking the other for Kirtan.
Very good. Does that have an impactful answer to the homework question?
Yes, Prabhuji, perfect.
Prabhuji, once you finish with that, now my things are ready. Sorry for the glitch. You give me an opportunity. Please.
Yeah, you can go ahead, please.
I have jotted down like 10 points positive things of life and 10 points of negative things of life.
So, not the 10 points of positive and negative in life. The spiritual endeavor is what is 4.4.12 explaining the 4 positive levels and 4 negative levels.
From that only, I have taken the essence of it.
Okay, go ahead.
And I have got Prabhupada's description also. I have written that. The positive things of life, association with saintly and spiritually elevated persons. 2. Humility and respectful dealing with all living beings. 3. Words that inspire peace, devotion, and truth. Number 4. Living with awareness of one's spiritual identity. 5. Gratitude and appreciation for other divine blessings. Maintaining purity in thought, speech, and action. 7. Respecting sacred relationship and spiritual values. And number 8, self-control and thoughtful conduct. Number 9, choosing environments that nourish devotion and inner growth. 10, seeking the pleasure of the Supreme Lord through sincere service. The negative part of it, which I would like to share, association with materialistic and spiritually indifferent people. This is the negative thing. Pride, arrogance, and desire for recognition. Harsh speech that causes pain and separation. Identification only with the body, status, and possessions. Fault finding and constant dissatisfaction. Attachment to temporary pleasures and distractions. Disrespect towards devotees and spiritual principles. Acting impulsively under anger and ego. Number 9, remaining in environments that weaken faith and character. The last one, seeking only personal prestige, enjoyment, and material success. The essence which I 4.412, according to me, what I have realized is teaches that life moves upward or downward according to one's association, consciousness, and values. Positive qualities nourish spiritual progress and inner peace, whereas negative tendencies strengthen the ego and suffering. The message is not merely to avoid harmful influences, but actively cultivate devotion, humility, and noble contact. Though through the right choices, life becomes spiritually purposeful and meaningful. Hare Krishna.
So your points are correct, nothing wrong with it. But the spiritual endeavor was completely different than what you are explaining. So what we saw on the visual, the 4.4.12 clearly has 4 levels: Sadhu, Mahatara, Mahatma, Ati Mahatma. And the 4 negative levels: Asadhu, Asadhutara, Asadhu Atma, and Ati Asadhu Atma. So we have to learn to be concise in whatever endeavor we do. Keep on talking and talking. Nobody's interested to hear. Just visualize going out on the street for preaching. Nobody's interested to hear so long points. There's nothing wrong with what you said. So we have to be very precise. And 4.4.12 crystal clear explains these 4 levels. That's it. That should be our focus.
Thank you, Prabhu.
So this was the last week's question for which you got the spiritual endeavor for 4.4.12 and 4.8.34. Does that answer the inquiry in significant detail?
Yes, Prabhu.
All right.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Thank you. So for this week, we have one inquiry. I will bring up on screen the inquiry. Question number 1 from last week says, Hridaya Granthi is the knot of material attachment. What practical daily practices can gradually loosen the knot without neglecting one's worldly responsibilities? So we discussed at our last discussion, Srimad Bhagavatam 5.5.9, that by associating with sadhus and engaging in devotional service, one is gradually freed from material conception due to knowledge, practice, and detachment. The knot of attachment in the heart gets slackened by this. And this way one gets freed from conditional lives and becomes eligible to return back home to Godhead. And in Srimad Bhagavatam 1.2.16 to 22, we'll read these verses right now. So Bhagavatam 1.2.16 to 22 describes the step-by-step process to elevate oneself, starting with the hearing process. So the title of this section in Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 2, verses 12 to 22 is Hearing Srimad Bhagavatam is the process for achieving pure devotion to Krishna. So I will bring up on screen these 1 to 12 to 22 will read. Many of the verses are key verses, so you can also recite the Sanskrit as we progress reading these verses. So I'll get Abhishek Prabhu to read. So we'll start with 1.2.12 with the translations, and then as we progress, you'll realize some are important verses that you can recite. Abhishek.
So I have to read the translation, Prabhuji.
Yeah, translation and some important verses I will point. You can even recite. You have recited those verses earlier also.
Yes, Prabhuji. Translation. The seriously inquisitive student or sage, well equipped with knowledge and detachment, realizes that absolute truth by rendering devotional service in terms of what he has heard from the Vedanta Shruti.
Okay. Continue, Abhishek.
Translation. O best among the twice born. Yes. O best among the twice born. It is therefore concluded that the highest perfection one can achieve by discharging the duties prescribed for one's own occupation, according to caste divisions and orders of life, is to please the personality of Godhead. Therefore, with one pointed attention, one should constantly hear about, glorify, remember, and worship the personality of Godhead, who is the protector of the devotees. With sword in hand, intelligent men cut through the binding knots of reactionary work, karma, by remembering the personality of Godhead. Therefore, who will not pay attention to his message?
16 is key memorization.
शुश्रूषोषधधानस्य वासुदेवे कथारुचि स्यान्महत् सेवया विप्रः पुण्यतीर्थनिषेवनात्. Translation. O twice born sages, by serving those devotees who are completely freed from all vice, great service is done. By such service, one gains affinity for hearing the messages of Vasudeva.
18 is also 17, 18 are also key memorization.
शृण्वतां स्वकथा कृष्णः पुण्यश्रवणकीर्तनः हृदयन्तस्थो हि अभद्राणि विदुनोति सुहृत्सताम्. Translation. Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is Paramatma, Supersoul, in everyone's heart, and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee, who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवति उत्तम श्लोके bhaktir naistiki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. As soon as irrevocable loving service is established in the heart, the effects of nature's mode of passion and ignorance, such as lust, desire, and hankering, disappear from the heart. Then the devotee is established in goodness and he becomes completely happy. Thus established in the mode of unalloyed goodness, the man whose mind has been enlivened by contact with devotional service to the Lord gains positive scientific knowledge of the personality of Godhead in the stage of liberation from all material association.
That's scary.
Thus the knot in the heart is pierced and all misgivings are cut to pieces. The chain of fruiting actions is terminated when one sees the self as master. Certainly, therefore, since time immemorial, all transcendentalists have been rendering devotional service to Lord Krishna, the personality of Godhead, with great delight, because such devotional service is enlivening to the self.
Very good. Very nice recitation of the Sanskrit verses. So these verses 1.2.12 to 22 title is Hearing Srimad Bhagavatam is the process for achieving pure devotion to Krishna. These verses are the most quoted verses of Srimad Bhagavatam by Srila Prabhupada. So to summarize, Srila Prabhupada is showing steps from Shrunu, means hearing, to Asamshaya, means doubt completely purified. So, yeah, initially it starts with the hearing devotional service, and then 1 to 16 starts with Sadhu Sangha and service to devotees. Then 1 to 17 says hearing. By hearing we get purified because the Lord is situated in the heart, he cleanses. 1 to 18 says most of the anarthas are destroyed by serving the Srimad Bhagavatam as well as the person Bhagavata. 1 to 19 says, by practice of bhakti, the lower modes of passion and ignorance go away and one gets situated in goodness. Then 1 to 20 said, by practice of devotional service, the mind becomes pleasant and we become free from contaminations. And 1 to 21 said, all attachments in the heart get cut off, means the knot is removed when we are enlivened by Krishna's knowledge. And the result is then we only do activity for Krishna and nothing else. Does that answer the inquiry?
Beautiful, Prabhuji. I never thought this will come such elaboration of enlightenment. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for listening with rapt attention. Any further questions, comments, realizations before we continue Bhagavatam 5.5? All right. So we will continue our discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 5, verse number 10 onwards. So the context is that Rishabdev is instructing the importance of human life. Human life is meant for austerities to end the cycle of birth and death, and human life is not meant for sense gratification. Householder should lead a life that provides full opportunity to hear and chant, should worship Gopinath at home, observe festivals, invite friends, and give them prasadam. By associating with sadhus and engaging in devotional service, one is gradually freed from the material conception due to knowledge, practice, and detachment. The knot of attachment in the heart gets slackened, and one gets freed from conditional life and becomes eligible to return back home to Godhead. This leads to part 4 of this chapter 5. Part 4 is verses 10 to 14. Title is Processes to Attain Liberation. In verses 10 to 13, Lord Rishabdev provides 25 processes to destroy ego so as to attain liberation. So I provided last week also, and I'll bring up again on screen. I have these 25 processes. So before we read the verses, we'll first read this, and then the verse basically explain the same points. Shivangi, you want to read the 25 points from the screen again?
Number 1, following Guru/Lord with devotion. Number 2, detaching from matter. Number 3, tolerating dualities. Number 4, realizing miserable condition of jivas. Number 5, inquiring about truth. Number 6, performing austerities. Number 7, giving up endeavor for sense gratification. Number 8, engaging in Lord's activities. Number 9, hearing Lord's topics always. Number 10, associating with Lord's devotees. Number 11, chanting and glorifying Lord's transcendental qualities. Number 12, being without enmity. Number 13, seeing everyone equally. Number 14, subduing anger, lamentation, etc. Number 15, abandoning bodily identification. Number 16, reading the revealed scriptures. Number 17, living in a secluded place. Number 18, practicing to control life, air, mind, and senses. Number 19, developing faith in Vedic literatures. Number 20, observing celibacy always. Number 21, performing one's prescribed duties. Number 22, avoiding unnecessary talks. Number 23, seeing Lord's presence everywhere. Number 24, acquiring knowledge which produces realization. Number 25, practicing yoga.
So, very important laundry list of qualities. Uncle will read Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 5, verse 10 to 13 translation. Essentially, is the same points that I have on the screen. The 25 processes to destroy ego to attain liberation.
Hare Krishna. Translation. O my sons, you should accept a highly elevated Paramahamsa, a spiritually advanced spiritual master. In this way, you should place your faith and love in me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You should detest sense gratification and tolerate the duality of pleasure and pain, which are like the seasonal changes of summer and winter. Try to realize the miserable conditions of living entities who are miserable even in the higher planetary system. Philosophically inquire about the truth, then undergo all kinds of austerities and penances for the sake of devotional service. Give up the endeavor for sense enjoyment and engage in the service of the Lord. Listen to discussions about the Supreme Personality of Godhead and always associate with the devotees. Chant about and glorify the Supreme Lord and look upon everyone equally on the spiritual platform. Give up enmity and subdue anger and lamentation. Abandon identifying the self with the body and the home and practice reading the revealed scriptures. Live in a secluded place and practice the process by which you can completely control your life, mind, and senses. Have full faith in the revealed scriptures, in the Vedic literatures, and always observe celibacy. Perform your prescribed duties and avoid unnecessary talks. Always think of Supreme Personality of God. Acquire knowledge from the right source. The practicing bhakti, you will patiently and enthusiastically be elevated in knowledge and will be able to give up the false ego. You want me to read purport, Prabhuji?
Yeah, you will. And so the purport as we read, we'll understand what is the sum and substance of these verses 10 to 13, as well as how a living entity becomes desireless. Uncle, purport?
Purport. In these 4 verses, Rishabhadeva tells his sons how they can be freed from the false identification arising from false ego and material conditional life. One gradually becomes liberated by practicing as mentioned above. All these prescribed methods enable one to give up the material body, lingam via path, and be situated in his original spiritual body. First of all, one has to accept a bona fide spiritual master. This is advocated by Srila Rupa Goswami, is Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Sri Guru Padashraya. To be freed from the entanglement and the material world, one has to approach the spiritual master. Tat Vijnanartham Sa Gurun Yavabi Gachet. By questioning the spiritual master and by serving him, one can advance in spiritual life. When one engages in devotional service, naturally the attraction for personal comfort, for eating, sleeping, and dressing is reduced. By associating with the devotee, a spiritual standard is maintained. The word Matdeva Sangat is very important. There are many so-called religions devoted to the worship of various demigods. But here good association means association with the one who simply accepts Krishna as his worshipable deity. Another important item in Devanda Titiksa. As long as one is situated in the material world, there must be pleasure and pain and arising from material body. As Krishna advises in Bhagavad Gita, Tamstiksava Bharata, one has to learn how to tolerate the temporary pains and pleasures of this material world. One must also be detached from his family and practice celibacy. Sex with one's wife, according to the scriptural injunction, is also accepted as brahmacharya celibacy. But illicit sex is opposed to religious principles and it hampers advancement in spiritual consciousness. Another important word, Vijnana Virajita. Everything should be done very scientifically and consciously. One should be realized the soul. In this way, one can give up the entanglement of material bondage. As Sri Madhvacharya points out, the sum and substance of these four slokas is that one should refrain from acting out of desire for sense gratification and should instead always engage in the Lord's loving service. In other words, Bhakti Yoga is the acknowledged path of liberation. Sri Madhvacharya quotes from Adhyatma, Atmano Vikitam Karma, Varjestva Karmana, Kapsiya Cha Parityago, Nidatti Atu Uttamaha. One should perform activities only for the benefit of the soul, and any other activity should be given up. When a person is situated in this way, he is said to be desireless. Actually, a living entity cannot be totally desireless, but when he desires the benefit of the soul and nothing else, he is said to be desireless. Spiritual knowledge is jnana, vijnana, samanvitam. Then one is fully equipped with jnana and vijnana. He is perfect. Jnana means that one understands the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu. To be the Supreme Being, Vijnana refers to the activities that liberate one from the ignorance of material existence. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam 2.9.31, Jnanam Paramam Guyam me yet Vijnana Samapvitam. Knowledge of the Supreme Lord is very confidential, and the Supreme Lord knowledge by which one understands Him further the liberation of all living entities. This knowledge is Vijnana as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 4.9. Janma karma che cha me divyam ivam ye viti tattvaha tattva deham punarjanma naiti mam iti. So Arjuna, one who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, take his birth again in this material world, but attains my eternal abode, O Arjuna. Hare Krishna.
So, very important set of verses, that the sum and substance of these verses 10 to 13, Lord Rishabhdev is explaining in these four verses to his sons and through his sons to all of us, that how one can be freed from false identification arising from false ego and material conditional life. The solution is these 25 processes that we have on the screen coming from these verses are the processes to destroy false ego so that one can attain liberation. So all these processes, these prescribed methods enables one to give up material body and be situated in the original Swarupa, the spiritual body. The sum and substance of these four verses is that one should refrain from acting for sense gratification. Rather, should always engage in loving devotional service to the Lord. The other point explained in these verses is how to become desireless. That one should perform activities only for the benefit of soul. All other activities should be given up. Then he becomes desireless. So we have also read this in Bhagavad Gita 2.71, that same point explained here, that living entity cannot be totally desireless. Rather, when he desires for the benefit of the soul and for serving Krishna and for nothing else, then he is desireless. So, my practical application for these verses for you all, that when you ask inquiries, instead of asking a Jnani level question, try to follow these 25 processes that we have on the screen so as to destroy false ego. And how to know whether my inquiry is Jnani level inquiry is think of a potential answer for your inquiry. And what will you do with that potential answer? If you will do nothing with the answer, it means it generally is a Jnani level question. While application questions are like doctor's prescriptions, that you take medication to get better means transform yourself. So, very practical 25 steps that we can follow. And what I added was about asking practical application questions which are transformational and not Jnani level questions. I will pause here for questions, comments, realizations.
In fact, these 25 questions are potential questions. You are ready.
All right. So once you follow all these, the result is described in verse number 14. Mother Chandra Aunty can read verse 14 translation.
Text 14, translation. As I have advised you, my dear sons, you should act accordingly. Be very careful. By these means, you will be freed from the ignorance of the desire for fruitive activity and the knowledge of and the knot of bondage in the heart will be completely severed. For further advancement, you should also give up the means, that is, you should not become attached to the process of liberation itself. Hare Krishna.
So by following these instructions of Lord Rishabdev, one will be freed from, number one, ignorance of desire for fruitive activity. And number two, the knot of bondage in the heart gets cut. Important is that one should give up the process also, that those who are trying for liberation by analysis, such analysis can continue once you are situated on transcendental devotional platform, only up to that point, and then you continue devotional service. Bhakti should never be stopped. the desire for liberation or your inquiry related to liberation or analysis, that has to stop. Once your analysis brings you to devotional platform. Questions, comments, realizations? Part 5 is verses 15 to 18. Title is Obligations of a Leader. The responsibility of a leader is to discourage karmic activity. Without becoming angry, the leader should continue giving instructions and guide the neophyte disciple or neophyte devotee, even if the disciple or the devotee, the son or citizen, is unable to follow this order. No, still instruct whether or not they are able to follow. Otherwise, it's like leading a blind man to a dark well and causing him to fall in the well. Therefore, in verse number 15, Srila Prabhupada quotes Bhagavad Gita 3.26 that do not disturb people. Just try to engage them in devotional services. Mother Jija will read 15 translation and purport.
Text 15. Translation. If one is serious about going back home, back to Godhead, he must consider the mercy of Supreme Personality of Godhead, the summons, bonum, and chief aim of life.
Mother Jija, your voice is not clear. You wanna please fix the internet, like get closer to the internet connection. Chandran Prabhu will read 15 translation and purport in the meantime.
Hare Krishna. If one is serious about going back home, back to Godhead, he must consider the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the summum bonum and chief aim of life. If he is a father instructing his sons, a spiritual master instructing his disciples, or a king instructing his citizens, he must instruct them as I have advised. Without being angry, he should continue giving instructions, even if his disciple, son or citizen is sometimes unable to follow his order. Ignorant people who engage in pious and impious activities should be engaged in devotional service by all means. They should always avoid fruitive activity. If one puts into the bondage of karmic activity his disciple, son or citizen, who is bereft of transcendental vision, how will one profit? It is like leading a blind man to a dark well and causing him to fall in. Purport. Na buddhi vedam jnanaye ajnanam karma sagnam jose sarva karmani vidvam yukta samacharan. Let not the wise disturb the minds of the ignorant who are attached to fruitive action. They should be engaged not to refrain from work, but to work in the spirit of devotion. Hare Krishna.
Very good. And in verse number 16, it describes the qualities of these ignorant people, that they have lost sight of their own best interests. Chandran Prabhu will continue 16 translation and purport.
Hare Krishna. Due to ignorance, the materialistic person does not know anything about his real self-interest, the auspicious path in life. He is simply bound to material enjoyment by lusty desires, and all his plans are made for this purpose, for temporary sense gratification. Such a person creates a society of envy, and due to this mentality, he plunges into the ocean of suffering. Such a foolish person does not even know about this. Purport. The word Nasta Dristi, meaning one who has no eyes to see the future, is very significant in this verse. Life goes on from one body to another, and the activities performed in this life are enjoyed or suffered in the next life, if not later in this life. One who is unintelligent, who has no eyes to see the future, simply creates enmity and fights with others for self-gratification. As a result, one suffers in the next life, but due to being like a blind man, he continues to act in such a way that he suffers unlimitedly. Such a person is Muddha, one who simply wastes his time and does not understand the Lord's devotional service, as stated in Bhagavad Gita 7.25. Naham prakasa sarvasya yogamaya samvarta mudoyam nabijnani loko mam ajam avyam. I am never manifest to the foolish and unintelligent. For them I am covered by my eternal creative potency, Yogamaya. And so the deluded world knows me not, who am unborn and infallible. In the Katha Upanishad, it is also said, Avidyayam antare vrittamana swayam vira panditam manyamana. Although ignorant people still go to other blind men for leadership, as a result, both are subjected to miserable conditions. The blind lead the blind into the ditch.
So superior should not allow further entanglement. And if a superior engages his followers on the wrong path, then one should reject such superior. And the examples of such superiors being rejected are given in verse number 18. Mother Jija, you want to try now 17 and 18 translations and purports?
Text 17. If someone is ignorant and addicted to the path of samsara, how can one who is actually learned, merciful, and advanced in spiritual knowledge engage him in fruitive activity and thus further entangle him in material existence? If a blind man is walking down the wrong path, how can a gentleman allow him to continue on his way to danger? How can he approve this method? No wise or kind man can allow this. Text 18. Translation. One who cannot deliver the dependents from the path of repeated birth and death should never become a spiritual master, a father, a husband, a mother, or a worshipable demigod. Purport. There are many spiritual masters, but Rishabhdev advises that one should not become a spiritual master if he is unable to save his disciple from the path of birth and death. Unless one is a pure devotee of Krishna, he cannot save himself from the path of repeated birth and death. Tyaktva deham punar janma Naiti Mam Eti So Arjuna. One can stop birth and death only by returning home back to Godhead. However, who can go back to Godhead unless he understands the Supreme Lord in truth? Janma karma cha ma divyam evam yo yeti tatvataha. We have many instances in history illustrating Rishabdev's instruction. Sukracharya was rejected by Bali Maharaj due to his inability to save Bali Maharaj from the path of repeated birth and death. Sukracharya was not a pure devotee. He was more or less inclined to fruitive activity, and he objected when Bali Maharaj promised to give everything to Lord Vishnu. Actually, one who is supposed to give everything to the Lord because everything belongs to the Lord. Consequently, the Supreme Lord advises in Bhagavad Gita 9.27 Yat karosi, yat asnasi, yat juhosi, dadasi, yat tapasyasi kaunteya, tat kuruswaha mad arpanam. O son of Kunti, all that you do, all that you eat, all that you offer and give away, as well as all austerities that you may perform, should be done as an offering unto me. This is bhakti. Unless one is devoted, he cannot give everything to the Supreme Lord. Unless one can do so, he cannot become a spiritual master, husband, father, or mother. Similarly, the wives of the Brahmanas who were performing sacrifices gave up their relatives just to satisfy Krishna. This is an example of a wife rejecting a husband who cannot deliver her from the impeding dangers of birth and death. Similarly, Prahlada Maharaj rejected his father, and Bharata Maharaj rejected his mother. Jnanani no sa satya sayat. This word Daivam indicates a demigod or one who accepts worship from a dependent. Ordinarily, the spiritual master, husband, father, mother, or superior relative accepts worship from an inferior relative, but here Rishabdeva forbids this. First, the father, spiritual master, or husband must be able to release the dependent from repeated birth and death. If he cannot do this, he plunges himself into the ocean of reproachment for his unlawful activities. Everyone should be very responsible and take charge of his dependents, just as a spiritual master takes charge of his disciple or a father takes charge of his son. All these responsibilities cannot be discharged honestly unless one can save the dependent from repeated birth and death. Hare Krishna.
So one should reject the superior if the superior is not able to guide from the entanglement of birth and death. So the examples given that we just read are that Bali Maharaj rejected his spiritual master Shukracharya. Vibhishan rejected Ravana, his relative. Prahlad Maharaj rejected Hiranyakashipu, his father. Bharat Maharaj rejected Kaikai, his mother. Katwanga Maharaj rejected Indra, the demigod. And the wives of Brahmanas rejected their husbands. Any questions, comments, realizations on the obligations of a leader or anything else?
So in general, they have said they reject relative, and you have given the why, starting with Bali Maharaj, Bharat Maharaj, Katangi, wife of Brahmanas. So that's what I understand. Am I right?
Yeah, you can reject relatives also if they are not guiding you properly on the path of spirituality. So now part 6 is verses 19 and 20, straightforward. Title is The Lord and His Devotee in One Family. So Rishabdev's sons may ask, where is the Lord to whom we have to worship, and where is the devotee to whom we have to serve to attain bhakti? So Rishabdev already said, worship me and serve my devotee. So the sons may ask, where is the Lord? Where is the devotee? Therefore, Rishabdev states that he himself is the Lord, and the eldest brother, Bharata, is the devotee you should serve. And in the next section, part 7, Rishabdev further teaches to serve the Brahmanas, because Brahmanas are the best among all people. Mother Chandra Aunty, verse 19 and 20 translations are straightforward.
Text 19. Translation. My transcendent body, Sak Ach Ananda Vigraha, looks exactly like a human form, but it is not the material human body. It is inconceivable. I am not forced by nature to accept a particular type of body. I take on a body by my own sweet will. My heart is always spiritual, and I always think of the welfare of my devotees. Therefore, within my heart can be found the process of devotional service, which is meant for the devotees. For devotees, far from my heart have I abandoned irreligion, adharma, and non-devotional activities. They do not appeal to me due to all these transcendental qualities. People generally pray to me as Rishabhadeva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the best of all living entities. Text 20. Translation. My dear boys, you are all born of my heart, which is the seat of all spiritual qualities. Therefore, you should not be like materialistic and envious men. You should accept your elder brother, Bharata, who is exalted in devotional service. If you engage yourself in Bharata's service, your service to him will include my service, and you will rule the citizens automatically. Hare Krishna.
Very good. So straightforward. And now part 7 is verses 21 to 27, the glory of Brahmanas. So in the verses, the gradations and evolutionary cycle is described. Because Lord is inclined towards Brahmanas, therefore Brahmanas are best of all. So the Brahmanas referred here are not caste Brahmanas, rather they are qualified Brahmanas by guna and karma. The verses we'll read will explain that Brahmaji is superior to Shiva because Brahmaji is father of Shiva. And in another sense, Shiva is superior to Brahmaji because Shiva is the greatest Vaishnava. Shivangi, 21-22 translations.
Hare Krishna. Of the two energies manifest, spirit and dull matter, beings possessing living force, vegetables, grass, trees, and plants are superior to dull matter, like stone, earth, etc. Superior to non-moving plants and vegetables are worms and snakes which can move. Superior to worms and snakes are animals that have developed intelligence. Superior to animals are human beings, and superior to human beings are ghosts because they have no material bodies. Superior to ghosts are the Gandharvas, and superior to them are the Siddhas. Superior to the Siddhas are the Kinnaras, and superior to them are the Asuras. Superior to the Asuras are the demigods, and of the demigods, Indra, the king of heaven, is supreme. Superior to Indra are the direct sons of Lord Brahma, sons like King Daksha, and supreme among Brahma's sons is Lord Shiva. Since Lord Shiva is the son of Lord Brahma, Brahma is considered superior. But Brahma is also subordinate to me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because I am inclined to the Brahmanas are best of all.
And in the rest of the verses for this part, further glorification of Brahmana continues. Lord Rishabdev says, worship the Brahmanas. Simultaneously, respect all living entities. This is very important, that respect all living entities. Shivangi will continue, 23-27 translations.
Hare Krishna. O respectful Brahmanas, as far as I am concerned, no one is equal or superior to the Brahmanas in this world. I do not find anyone comparable to them. When people know my motive, after performing rituals according to the Vedic principles, they offer food to me with faith and love through the mouth of a Brahmana. When food is thus offered unto me, I eat it with full satisfaction. Indeed, I derive more pleasure from food offered in that way than from the food offered in the sacrificial fire. 24. The Vedas are my eternal transcendental sound incarnation. Therefore, the Vedas are Shabda Brahma. In this world, the Brahmanas thoroughly study all the Vedas, and because they assimilate the Vedic conclusions, they are also to be considered the Vedas personified. The Brahmanas are situated in the supreme transcendental mode of nature, Sattva-guna. Because of this, they are fixed in mind control, Shama, sense control, Dhamma, and truthfulness, Satya. They describe the Vedas in their original sense, and out of mercy, Anugraha, they preach the purpose of the Vedas to all conditioned souls. They practice penance, tapasya, and tolerance, tiksha, and they realize the position of the living entity in the Supreme Lord, Anubhava. These are the 8 qualifications of the Brahmanas. Therefore, among all living entities, no one is superior to the Brahmanas. Text 25. I am fully opulent, almighty, and superior to Lord Brahma and Indra, the king of the heavenly planets. I am also the bestower of all happiness obtained in the heavenly kingdom and by liberation. Nonetheless, the Brahmanas do not seek material comforts from me. They are very pure and do not want to possess anything. They simply engage in my devotional service. What is the need of their asking for material benefits from anyone else? Text 26. My dear sons, you should not envy any living entity, be he moving or non-moving. Knowing that I am situated in them, you should offer respect to all of them at every moment. In this way, you offer respect to me. Text 27. The true activity of the sense organs, mind, sight, words, and all the knowledge-gathering and working senses is to engage fully in my service. Unless his senses are thus engaged, a living entity cannot think of getting out of the great entanglement of material existence, which is exactly like Yamaraja's stringent rope.
Very good. The last part is part 8, 28-35. Lord Rishabdev's renunciation as an avadhuta. So one who has surpassed the rules and regulations of Varnashram Dharma, he is called avadhuta. And these Lord Rishabdev's instructions are meant for sannyasis who intend to become advanced devotees. Lord Rishabdev's instructions to his perfectly educated and well-cultured sons are just to set an example of how a father should instruct his sons before retiring from family life. So verse 28 is on avadhuta, and verse 29 is that these instructions are for sannyasi and how a father should instruct before retiring. Abhishek Prabhu, 28 translation and purport, 29 translation and purport, fast pace.
Hare Krishna. Text 28. So, Sukhdev Goswami said, thus the great well-wisher of everyone, the Supreme Lord Rishabdev, instructed his own sons. Although they were perfectly educated and cultured, he instructed them just to set an example of how a father should instruct his son before retiring from family life. Sannyasis who are no longer bound by fruitive activity and who have taken to devotional service after all their material desires have been vanquished also learn by these instructions. Lord Rishabdev instructed his 100 sons, of whom the eldest Bharat was a very advanced devotee and a follower of Vaishnavas. In order to rule the whole world, the Lord enthroned his eldest sons on the royal seat. Thereafter, although still at home, Lord Rishabdev lived like a madman, naked and with disheveled hair. Then the Lord took the sacrificial fire within himself and he left Brahmavarsh to tour the whole world. 29.
Purport also.
Text purport. Actually, the instructions given to Lord Rishabdev's sons were not exactly meant for his sons because they were already educated and highly advanced in knowledge. Rather, these instructions were meant for sannyasis who intend to become advanced devotees. Sannyasis must abide by Lord Rishabdev's instructions while on the path of devotional service. Lord Rishabdev retired from family life and lived like a naked madman even while still with his family. Text 29. After accepting the feature of Avadhuta, a great saintly person without material care, Lord Rishabdev passed through human society like a blind, deaf, and dumb man, an ideal stone, a ghost, or a madman. Although people called him such names, he remained silent and did not speak to anyone. Purport. The word Avdhuta refers to one who does not care for social conventions, particularly the Varnashram Dharma. However, such a person may be situated fully within himself and be satisfied with the Supreme Personality of Godhead on whom he meditates. In other words, one who has surpassed the rules and regulations of Varnashram Dharma is called Avdhuta. Such a person has already surpassed the clutches of Maya and he lives completely separate and independent.
Very good. The rest of the verses are straightforward. Chandran Prabhu, 30 to 35 translations, faster pace.
Hare Krishna. Rishabdeva began to tour through cities, villages, mines, countrysides, valleys, gardens, military camps, cow pens, the homes of cowherdmen, transient hotels, hills, forests, and hermitages. Wherever he traveled, all bad elements surrounded him, just as flies surround the body of an elephant coming from a forest. He was always being threatened, beaten, urinated upon and spat upon. Sometimes people threw stones, stool, and dust at him, and sometimes people passed for air before him. Thus, people called him many bad names and gave him a great deal of trouble. But he did not care about this, for he understood that the body is simply meant for such an end. He was situated on the spiritual platform, and being in his spiritual glory, he did not care for all these material insults. In other words, he completely understood that matter and spirit are separate, and he had no bodily conception. Thus, without being angry at anyone, he walked through the whole world alone. Purport. Narottama Dasa.
Translations only, Prabhu.
Text 31. Translation. Lord Rishabdeva's hands, feet, and chest were very long. His shoulders, face, and limbs were all very delicate and symmetrically proportioned. His mouth was beautifully decorated with his natural smile, and he appeared all the more lovely with his reddish eyes spread wide like the petals of a newly grown lotus flower, covered with the dew in the early morning. The irises of his eyes were so pleasing that they removed all the troubles of everyone who saw him. His forehead, ears, neck, nose, and all his other features were very beautiful. His gentle smile always made his face beautiful, so much so that he even attracted the hearts of a married woman. It was as though they had been pierced by arrows of Cupid. About his head was an abundance of curly, matted brown hair. His hair was disheveled because his body was dirty and not taken care of. He appeared as if he were haunted by a ghost. Text 32. When Lord Rishabdeva saw the general populace was very antagonistic to his execution of mystic yoga, he accepted the behavior of the python in order to counteract their opposition. Thus, he stayed in one place and lay down. While laying down, he ate and drank, and he passed stool and urine and rolled in it. Indeed, he smeared his whole body with his own stool and urine, so that opposing elements might not come and disturb him. Text 33. Because Lord Rishabdeva remained in that condition, the public did not disturb him, but no bad aroma emanated from his stool and urine. Quite the contrary, his stool and urine were so aromatic that they filled 80 miles of the countryside with a pleasant fragrance. Text 34 translation. In this way, Lord Rishabdeva followed the behavior of cows, deer, and crows. Sometimes he moved or walked, and sometimes he sat down in one place. Sometimes he lay down, behaving exactly like cows, deer, and crows. In that way, he ate, drank, passed stool and urine, and cheated the people in this way. Text 35. Ho, King Parikshit, just to show all the yogics the mystic process, Lord Rishabdeva, the partial expansion of Lord Krishna, performed wonderful activities. Actually, he was the master of liberation and was fully absorbed in transcendental bliss, which increased to 1,000-fold. Lord Krishna, Vasudeva, the son of Vasudeva, is the original source of Lord Rishabdeva. There is no difference in their constitution, and consequently, Lord Rishabdeva awakened the loving symptoms of crying, laughing, and shivering. He was always absorbed in transcendental love. Due to this, all mystic powers automatically approached him, such as the ability to travel in our earth space at the speed of mind, to appear and disappear, to enter the bodies of others, and to see things far, far away. Although he could do all this, he did not exercise his powers. Hare Krishna.
Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purports of 5th canto, 5th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Lord Rishabdev's Teachings to His Sons. Spiritual endeavor questions, please write down. Number 1. What is the sum and substance of verses 10 to 13? Number 2, how does a living entity become desireless? Comes from verses 10 to 13. Number 3, what should one do if a disciple, son, or citizen is unable to follow his order? Comes from verse 15. Number 4, explain Nashta Drishti. Comes from verse 16. And for next class, please read Canto 5, Chapter 6. So I have on the screen the presentation slots. So next week, June 27th, we will aim to finish Chapter 6 and this unit number 22. The following week, July 4th, you all will do your respective presentations. So please let me know your presentation slots. And then the following week after the presentation, July 11th, we will not have a class as it is Rath Yatra in Toronto. Thank you all for tolerating 5 extra minutes or so. Any questions, comments, realizations before we stop for the day?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. It is explained why did Rishabdev behave like so when he was leaving?
So we read in one of the verses so as to not let people disturb him. And the same point will come up in Jada Bharat also. Jada Bharat is basically Bharat Maharaj, the son of Rishabdev. That Jada Bharat also lived like a madman because he does not want to get entangled in here. Now we also read that Rishabdev's stool is very fragrant. So because Rishabdev is not ordinary, he's Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. So anything coming out from Supreme Personality of Godhead is nothing filthy, even if it is stool. Abhishek.
Prabhuji, it is mentioned that respecting everyone, you also mentioned this point. So, in respecting, there is also a statement that respect people according to their level.
You are correct.
So, how does like if someone is senior to me, what does his level matter to me? If like he's senior in age.
So you have to respect everyone, and the levels that you are talking are for reciprocation, right? So there's difference in terms of respecting everyone and reciprocating. So Kanishta Adhikari, you respect in your mind because he is chanting Hare Krishna. Madhyam Adhikari knows 4 criteria, so you make friends with him. And Uttam Adhikari, you serve him. Madhyam Adhikari also, you offer respects also. And these are reciprocations. But respect, you respect everyone. Similarly, in terms of we read in one of the previous chapters, in terms of reciprocation. So for example, if there is a tiger, you cannot go and hug a tiger. You give him prasadam. That's reciprocation. So you have to reciprocate according to the status of the opposite person. But respect is for everyone. Abhishek?
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Mother Chandra Aunty, you had a question?
No, Prabhuji, thank you.
All right, we'll stop here. Thank you, everybody. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Very good. Thank you.